Hey, Chips. She is a cat on a mission. She's like steadily making her way. The two calico barn cats, Chips and Cherry, are not very friendly. They are the two that actually like do the barn cat well. The other three are in your back pocket pretty much all the time, which is fine. It's a nice mix. Yesterday we hosted an event for a church out here at the farm. It was really lovely. We've just been cleaning up this afternoon and my alarm just went off. Then I need to go move the sprinkler in the high tunnel. And before I went down there, I grabbed the camera because I haven't shot a video this weekend. I wanted to check in with you guys. Hey geese. Hey little cuties. The farm is kind of officially transitioning into that cool brown season, but in here, it's still quite green. Oh shoot! I thought I was gonna miss me. That was definitely a miscalculation on my part. I thought I was in the safe zone and I was waiting for it to come back to run out, but okay. You guys are a little wet. When I turn sprinklers on outside, we do have a well, which is really nice when it comes to watering all of this stuff. I have many people ask me when they see me putting sprinklers on, they're like, do you not have to be concerned about water consumption? We have a very deep well with really good pressure, and while I don't try to just leave it on excessively, I can just put a sprinkler on. However, I do have to put a timer on or else I'll forget that it's going. Alright, let's pop in here. It actually got pretty warm in this tunnel today. It smells so alive in here. So I think I'm going to put on the to-do list for this week to go ahead and clear out all of the frost damaged peppers. The ones in the middle are still fine. But we can go ahead and clear out the banana plants, these damaged peppers, and then I'm going to replant. Over on that side, I'm going to put in more like root vegetables, more brassicas. I'm going to harvest the rest of the beets that are ready and replant there. And I have decided, well, it was decided for me. I didn't really decide, but it is now decided that I will be concentrating all of my winter growing efforts in these two high tunnels because unfortunately I planted multiple things out in the beds out there and our first freeze was supposed to be really mild and barely freezing, but it got like several degrees cooler here at my house than it did even in surrounding areas. So I wouldn't say we necessarily have like major microclimates where I am, which a microclimate is where you can have very, very different climates within very short distances of each other. And though like Will lives 30 minutes from me, and it is often very different at his house than it is from my house. But I wouldn't necessarily call that a microclimate. However, our property is sort of the low point in the surrounding areas. So there's like a lot of pine forest around us, a lot of big pastures, and a lot of that drains down to our pond, which we have this 4-acre pond on our property. And there's a great benefit to that. Like that's why we wanted to build our garden where we did. When we came to lay out this property, we noticed that this was a low point. And being the low point, this pasture where we currently now have our garden where we're planning on building our house has about 12 inches of topsoil in a surrounding area that's largely clay and rock because all that topsoil washes down to this area, which is a benefit. But low points harbor cool air because heat rises. And so when it freezes here, my garden freezes before kind of everything in the surrounding areas. Even my neighbor's garden, which is kind of at the top of this slope. In the spring, when everything else is like kind of close to freezing, my garden is more likely to freeze. Doesn't really matter here. We have a really long growing season. But unfortunately, this freeze that we had last week which, mind you, like the day before it was 70 or 75 degrees or something like that, 28 Celsius. So it went from, no, that's not right, 24 Celsius. I had to double check myself. I was right, 24 Celsius. Yeah, it went from warm to cold, and it froze harder here than in the surrounding areas. When I got up to take the kids to school that morning, it said it was 27 here. When I got down to the school, it was 32. It's very close. It's like a mile away. So all of the seeds that I had put in my beds out there are zapped. Like the radishes I'd planted, the peas I'd planted, they got really damaged. Maybe they'll make a recovery. I'm not going to pull them out yet, but I don't have super high hopes. And I think that with this winter, I've seen a lot of people who are like weather analysts saying that this is going to be a really cold winter. And I think that it would probably be best if I just focused my efforts here in the high tunnel. And so I think we're going to tear the raised bed garden out, like the spring stuff that's dead, and just mulch over it, compost it and mulch it, and just let it rest, and then replant it in the spring. And I have plenty of space. These high tunnels are 24 by 60, and I have 2. And of course, you know, like the peppers are still going right now, but once they're done, I can pull that out and plant it. This is plenty of growing space. I can grow pretty much all the food that we could want out of a garden over the winter in here, and that's what I'm gonna do. We'll drive by and I'll show you guys those beds and what I'm talking about with the damage. And then I'm gonna take you in the woods and tell you about something I've been thinking about for the last few months. And I think I've finally made my decision that I'm gonna do it. Good night, girls. So here are the cool weather things that I planted. And in these, like you can see, some of the radishes look better than the others. I pulled a few up. They're still edible, is why I haven't pulled them up yet. And maybe they'll recover and still grow, but a few of them were like really shriveled. See these peas? Like there's quite a bit of frost damage on these. And these are things that are frost hardy, but acclimation is everything. I actually could probably plant peas and radishes now. And if they grew in these cooler temps, they would probably grow fine. It just depends on how cold our winter is. So a little story time. I wasn't sure that I was gonna let you guys in on this process before it was like firmly decided. But I feel pretty firm in the decision now. We'll just see as far as like playing it out. I decided that it would be better to go ahead and let you guys into all of the thought process leading up to this. So I'm out in the woods. I'm right next to our house. There's our house right there. So this is like the back corner of our property. This land actually belongs to Papa T, but he allows us to use it, which is awesome. And back in here, our pigs are back there. Back here is the mushroom forest where we have all the inoculated logs and stuff, where I was harvesting mushrooms the other day. And right here is where we have run pigs in the past. This is where all the volunteer food grows that I show you guys. And this is where I think our future goat yard is going to be. Here's me eating my words when I said I would never have goats again. So I want to kind of share the process leading up to here as we really kind of start to seriously talk logistics on this. I had goats for years, I think about 7 years. I kept goats, and that was the main source of dairy that we produced on our farm. And when we moved here, you know, we put them out on pasture. We ended up getting our cow. We were overwhelmed by the amount of milk that a dairy cow produces. We ended up rehoming our goats, which at the time of doing that, I was in just like the throes of my health crisis and the whole culmination of that. If you've not heard me talk about that, I've done a couple videos kind of sharing the actual like nitty-gritty history of my health issues that I've dealt with for my life. I mean, it's been a lifelong issue, but it really came to a head when we moved here, and I was not in a position to take great care of my goats, to milk, to do anything like that. And we'd gotten the Jersey, our first Jersey, Hope, and I ended up rehoming my goats to multiple friends. Our goats went to separate places, and we got the cows, and then we got more cows. And at this point, we have, you know, several friends that get milk from us, and the cows are supporting multiple families' needs, which is amazing. And it's a great system Jeremiah's got worked out. And it's really great. I'm not able to drink the milk because of the health issues. I can't do dairy. It breaks my skin out really bad. And that's fine. You know, I love that we have them. I love that the family has them, that my kids have it. It's great. I want to say this. I want to be understood here without, like, inciting a giant eye roll. This is just me being really vulnerable. I feel sometimes a little out of touch with our farm because the systems are all so effective and beautiful and productive. And we provide for a lot of people. Like a lot of families eat the food that we grow on our farm, in our community, our friends, like our neighbors, our family. And I love that. I love being able to be that person that is able to provide things. But the dream that I had for a really long time was for a little old-fashioned homestead. It was for small, it was for slow, and it was for simple. And sometimes, I remember I was at Baker Creek's Heirloom Seed Festival, no, Tulip Festival this year. That's what it was. And I did a Q&A with Rory Feek. And Rory asked me a question. He said, what is the hardest thing that you struggle with in your life? And I just answered it honestly, like knee-jerk reaction, because I'm in front of a crowd. I'm not gonna say I don't do well in that situation, but like, I'm honest, because what else can you be? Like, I do not feel like I am great at putting on in front of a crowd at all. I just have to be honest, because that's all I got. You know, I'm nervous as all get. I'm trying not to throw up. Like, I'm gonna be honest. And I told him, I said, the hardest thing in my life is not letting my dream run away from me. And sometimes I get caught in this juxtaposition between what I've always wanted, which was the simple, slow, basic, small homestead life, and this grand vision that I have to teach the world to grow food and to provide resources as much as possible for a community to be able to eat well. I will always choose other people over me. That's just, I don't know. Maybe that's a positive trait. Maybe that's a toxic trait. I don't really know. But it's true. And I don't know if that's because I've been a mom since I was 19 years old. I don't know. I will typically always choose other people's needs over my own desires. But a few months ago, I just had this idea, and I brought it up to Maya. And I was like, I would really love to have something that's small and that's just for me. That's not necessarily to produce the most, to help other people. That's just something I can connect with, that I can take care of, that doesn't have to be scaled up, that doesn't have to be the most efficient or the most effective. And I was like, I'm thinking I would like to get some goats again. And I wanted to make the decision really slowly. I did not want to jump off into it, because we're busy and there's a lot of logistics and all that stuff. So I've just been chewing on it. The last few months, I've prayed about it. I've just thought about it. I've really thought about what that would look like. I didn't want to do it impulsively. And I'm not even anywhere near ready to like get this. I mean, we would have to look at fencing and housing and all of that stuff. But out here in the woods is where Jeremiah and I today were walking and thinking about putting a goat pen. I only want like 2 or 3 does. Like I do not want it to get big. I do not want it to get unmanageable. I do not want it to get overwhelming. I am very intentionally wanting this to be small, that's mine. I just want something that's mine. And my friend Cass over at Say Mojo Homestead recently gave me some of their goat's milk, and I decided to try it and see how it went over with my skin. Because if I start drinking a lot of like cow's milk, I've tried to reintroduce that, and I pretty consistently start like breaking out. My hands break out first, is why I always touch my hands. Like that's where my telltale sign is. If I'm going to get a rash, I get it on my hands first. And the cow's milk does that. But I've had goat's milk for the last like week and a half, and I have not developed a rash, which is really awesome. And that was kind of me, like, I'm trying to do my due diligence to be like, is this actually something that I want to do? So I'm keeping my eyes out. You know, some timing things are going to have to come together. I don't know how immediate this is going to be, you know, as far as like, we have to put the infrastructure together. But yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to get goats again. I don't know yet if I want to do Nubians again or La Manchas again. I'm kind of looking for the right place. I've been like just casually looking on the different boards. I've looked at some different breeders. I do not want to get the goats that I used to have back. They are settled in their homes. They're loved. I knew as soon as I talked about people would be like, oh, are you going to try to get your old goats back? And no, I'm not going to try to get my old goats back. I don't think that would I don't want to do that. But I know that I'll get the right goats. Like I've been keeping my eye out, and I'm kind of open to a couple of different breeds. I only want a couple. And I don't know, it's kind of exciting, kind of moving slow. We're going into winter. This is the time of year that, like, a lot of times you can find really good animals because people are kind of downsizing to go into the winter because they're kind of more expensive to keep over winter whenever the grass isn't growing. But I think these woods back here will be a really lovely place to be able to keep the goats. They like browse. They don't really need pasture. They like browse. And I'm thinking, I don't know if it'll be on this side of the driveway or on the other side, but we're probably just going to build a permanent fence and put a little, you know, 3-sided structure up. Maybe have something that has a little bit of a space for a milk room in it. And then, yeah, just get a few does that I can milk and enjoy the milk. Potentially learn to make soap. That's something that's been on my list that I'd love to do for years. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. And I wanted to share it with you guys. More than anything, my reason for wanting to share is just to kind of let you in on the fact that a lot of times when you're making farm decisions, there's a long, slow process that goes into it. I think when you watch content on YouTube, you can imagine that the people that you're watching just, oh, we got a cow today, we got a goats today, we did a thing today. You know, everybody likes to say that. And it can make homesteading appear very impulsive. And I actually do not think that the best homestead decisions are made impulsively. I've made plenty of impulsive homestead decisions, let me tell you, but they were not my best ones. The best decisions that I have made on my farm have been things that we researched, that we were prepared for, that we knew what we were getting into, that we had a standard that we were looking for, we knew what we were looking for, and we didn't lower that standard. Anytime that I have lowered my standard is when I ended up impulsively buying goats that were sick, or, you know, it's just the impulsiveness was never beneficial. And I thought about waiting until we're buying the goats and just being like, hey, we did this thing. But I don't know that that would really set you guys up for a realistic expectation of what this looks like. I brought this up to Jeremiah in early August, I think, late July. I first brought this up to him because I had been thinking about it. And I said, before I even say this is something I want to try drinking goat's milk and make sure that it's going to work for me. I thought it would. And I was right. Like, it does seem to be working with my body. I said I want to talk to a couple of my goat keeping friends to make sure that I have somebody that can milk, because I have multiple travel engagements next summer that I have to go out of town to speak for, and I need to make sure that it's going to be covered. That was like one of the top things to make sure that was handled. I said I want to get a cost analysis of what it's going to look like as far as fencing. We live in the country. As far as fencing, as far as housing, all of that stuff, I want to make sure that I've got that down. I want to kind of have in mind what I want in goats specifically. I want to be very choosy and wait months if I have to get what it is that I'm looking for. I want to, like, I had this list of things that I want to do, and I've done that now. I feel I had to do all of that to come to the decision to say, this is what I want. And now that I'm at the point of saying confidently, okay, I think this is actually something that I want to pursue, I'm letting you guys in. It may be months. It may not be. Maybe it'll come together quickly. I don't know. I asked him if this is something that I could have for, like, my birthday and Christmas presents. Like, I can't think of anything that I would ask for. And so I was like, well, maybe this is something that we could apply that towards. You could help make this happen for me for my birthday and Christmas. And so it might be after Christmas, though, that it comes together. But yeah. That's kind of where we are. There's a lot of thought that goes into it. Sometimes when it comes to expansion on a farm, you'll have a desire in your heart, and you start doing research and you start doing preparation, and it may take years for things to come together, and it has for me in a lot of areas. But in this area, when this happens, I don't want you guys to think that it was sudden and impulsive. It was definitely a thought out thing, and I just wanted to let you in on that process. I'm back to turn my sprinkler off. It's currently 5:43 and the sun is setting, so that's lovely. The time change was last night, and I'm not about that. I do not improve. But no one asked me, so I'm just dealing with the fact that it is dark. And I haven't even figured out what I'm cooking for dinner yet. But yeah, I don't know some of the logistics yet. Like, I haven't decided as far as, I think that we'll keep a buck just because that will be so much simpler, but I only want to have maybe 2 or 3 does. Like, I do not want to have a lot. I want to hand milk. My whole point in having goats is, yes, for the milk, but it's also that I just want to have something that's mine to manage, that's romantic, that I can feel connected to my farm, that can stay small, that's not to be scaled, that's not to provide for everybody, that's just something that I'm doing because I love it. And so we may keep a buck. You know, we need to get a ram to breed our sheep because we have our St. Croix sheep. For me, we only have 2 ewes. So we may look at getting maybe like 2 more ewes and a buck or a ram. And if I have a ram and a buck, I need to look in to see if I can like house them together. I still have some research that I need to do considering our current endeavors. But here we can take a quick peek in here. It's kind of dark, but oh, this stuff has grown so fast. I still have some more plants, but I was going to put these in over in the other high tunnel when I pull stuff out. These Napa cabbages are growing so quick. The broccolis, these are Brussels sprouts. It's all looking really good. Down here, it's real wet because the sprinkler ran longer on this side. But I did notice that my rutabagas are up. Happy birthday, little guys. Very excited about that. I cannot wait to eat them. I came out here earlier when I first turned the sprinkler on, and the sun was shining through, and it was so warm in here, and it just smells so alive. A closed-up greenhouse, or high tunnel, has a very distinctive smell. I remember when I visited Baker Creek that their high tunnels had that same smell. It's almost like it's very earthy, it's slightly musty, and it is just extremely alive. I wish that I could share that smell with you. It's actually one of my favorite smells in the whole earth, is whenever you're outside, it's cold, it's crisp, you know, it's wintry, and then you step into this space, and then it's just this, just take a deep breath. But it was like that when I came in here earlier. It was super brilliant and thriving and living. Just love it. Well, sun is setting. It's not even 6 o'clock in the evening yet. Thank you guys for letting me share my heart and my process about my thoughts on things like getting goats. I don't really have any questions that I'm looking for input on. Mostly I just wanted to let you guys in on that thought process. I love the idea of being able to get up in the morning and just go out and hand milk my couple little goats and have goat kids again. Have something that's still small and simple. I do not begrudge this. I love this. I want to be understood, and that, like, I'm not complaining about the way this is. I love it. It's beautiful, and the efficiency of it and the effectiveness of it, and the fact that we're scaling these things up to eventually have a learning farm someday where we can teach people how to apply this on all different scales. It's important. Like, I believe that it's important. But I do sometimes feel a little bit caught in between the rock and a hard place of my vision and my greater dream, as well as my, like, still, there's the timer to turn the sprinkler off. It's done already. As well as, you know, that little small dream that I had when I was young that kind of started it all. And, you know, I don't know, Jeremiah and I have talked about one day, you know, like, if we do this, I'd end up having this learning farm that people can all come learn from. Like, our home place will become a lot simpler and smaller because we'll move a lot of the scale and the production away, you know, like, to a different place that supports a community. And here it could be chickens free ranging in the yard and small, but that's not where we are right now, and I don't begrudge it. I'm thankful for it. I say this regularly, my hands are full, but it's with everything that I ever hoped for. But sometimes I do have to kind of assess it and say, what do I need? Like, what does my heart need? What does my little romantic creative heart need in the midst of all of this that's all so good but so much bigger than 2 tiny hands can handle? And I think maybe right now I might just need a couple of goats. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today and all the days that you do. I bless you. Until next time.